Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. As always, we have a bunch of stories to talk about today, so let's jump right into it. And first up, we have Grayscale announcing a new Stellar Lumens based investment. Grayscale Investments, the digital asset management firm operating under the Digital Currency Group umbrella, is adding support for Stellar Lumens with a new investment product. The company announced on Thursday that it was launching the Stellar Lumens Trust, a single asset investment product which exposes investors to Lumens XLM, the native asset of the Stellar network. Grayscale already offers single asset trusts for a number of other cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Zen, Litecoin, XRP, and Zcash. Notable here that Grayscale is really a big player in the crypto world and is holding a significant amount of certain cryptocurrencies. I believe it is them who hold over 1% of the total supply of Bitcoin, and I believe they also hold a significant portion of the Ethereum supply. They started buying up early and they have been buying significant amounts since. The Stellar blockchain was built as a low-cost payment network, Grayscale noted in a press release, with the goal of providing impoverished communities with access to financial services. Founded by Jeb McCaleb, the Stellar project has notably attracted the interest of IBM, which is building a cross-border payment rail on top of the network. Correct me if I'm wrong here, the IBM collaboration is on top of a forked version or a copy of the Stellar network, not running on top of the main network, but if I'm wrong here, do correct me. In a statement, Grayscale Managing Director Michael Sonnenschein noted that the launch of this product will expand our coverage of the digital asset universe. The company will continue to provide investors access to established blockchain projects with substantial traction and resources, he said. Grayscale's announcement comes on the heels of it reassuring existing customers that an investment vehicle for another of these established blockchain projects, Ethereum Classic, was not in any danger after a prolonged 51% attack on the network. You know, I get why they're making that announcement, but I don't think you can quite claim that an investment in Ethereum Classic is not as at risk after going through all that mess. But in general, the takeaway here is simply that one of the big players in the crypto space that is providing a lot of investment solutions for institutional investors for big money is now also providing a fund, well, not really a fund, but one based on XLM. This is a sensible addition because they already have most of the other major cryptocurrencies. Essentially, what we're waiting for them to add is stuff like EOS and Cardano, which will probably happen before long as well. But they're trying to pretty much cover all the top 10 before long and provide access to institutional investors for all of them. This is good for Stellar Lumens because Stellar Lumens, as much as a lot of people see it as promising and as much as I think they have a very good underlying idea, I think it's admirable what they're trying to do here, that they're trying to give access to people who previously have not had access, and that they're trying to give away their tokens, especially to people in need. I think that is wonderful, but we're not quite seeing the kind of activity on their network, the kind of integration of Stellar that a lot of people have been hoping for. So it's nice to see Grayscale support them here with this product based on top of Stellar Lumens. And there's not really much else to say here. Now, as so frequently happens, someone made some claims on Twitter that were not taken in the kindest way, that were controversial. This time, it is someone talking about Ethereum, so let's take a look here. The title here, Ethereum is more centralized than Ripple, claims the renowned lawyer and blockchain nerd. The nerd we are talking about is Preston Byrne, a lawyer who also runs a website where he occasionally gives his insight in crypto-related legal matters, like if Ether is a security or not. Spoiler alert, he thinks it is a security. Preston tweeted the claim about Ethereum and Ripple by referencing another tweet that explains the motives and decision makers behind the approaching Ethereum mainnet upgrade Constantinople that will see block reward issuance reduced from 3 Ether to 2 Ether per block. And he responded with, "Repeat after me, Ethereum is more centralized than Ripple." Of course, you can see the implication here that Ripple is supposedly one of the most centralized networks. I have argued against that position a million times because it doesn't really hold up to scrutiny, because XRP is only centralized in some manners and not at all in others. But let's just go with it for the sake of argument here. Byrne elucidates his position in subsequent tweets by claiming that Ethereum is completely run by a couple of big private companies. And his statement here: none of which is to say Ethereum wasn't interesting or wasn't decentralized once, or that we are wrong to hope for decentralized systems in finance. It's to say that Ethereum failed to scale and isn't the decentralized system we were hoping for, maybe next time. The change in the issuance of Ethereum tokens benefits the current large holders at the expense of future miners, which is seen as a self-serving move by the big companies behind the Ethereum project, most notably Consensus. Preston's assertions, as it was to be expected, were challenged by a slew of Ethereum proponents. Nobody has the power to enforce change, that's the whole point of using a blockchain. If the issuance reduction goes through, it's because people agreed to the change and ran clients that implemented it. Don't confuse the ability to agree on a change for centralization, commented one of the Ethereum core developers, Nick Johnson. What he is ignoring here, of course, is the fact that yes, you need consensus to implement these things. But you know where you have centralization? You can control the narrative and the discussion and what is being proposed in the first place. That is essentially, it is decentralized in the same way that many political systems are, where everybody gets a vote, but what you get to vote on, who you get to vote on, which proposals you get to vote on, those are centrally decided by an authority, and that is how change on Ethereum works at this current point. Yes, they are decentralized in the way that everyone gets to ultimately vote on these things. No, they are not completely decentralized in this process, because ultimately there's a core developing team with a few core companies that are controlling the discussion, that are controlling what even gets put forward as a real possibility, and that can ultimately control much of what happens on the network. This is why I keep saying centralization is not black or white. Something is not centralized or not centralized. Something is centralized in degrees and in different manners, and Ethereum is centralized in governance insofar as there are a few people who can control most of the narrative, most of the discussion, and most of what gets put forward. The people involved in the developer calls and a few large companies behind Ethereum do really have that kind of control, which isn't to say that it's completely centralized in every way, but it's dishonest here, Nick Johnson's statement. He's of course trying to protect the project he's involved in here, but this is a dishonest statement. The issuance change was discussed for months by the wider community. I know because I was part of the early discussions. These cheap shots add nothing to the conversation, said Anthony Sassano, host of an Ethereum-related podcast. You see the exact same misrepresentation here, where yes, there was a discussion, but some people have the power to lead that discussion. And that is ultimately just all I want to say about these statements. In some ways, Ethereum is meaningfully centralized. A lot of the computing power behind Ethereum is controlled by just a few people. A lot of the supply is held by a bunch of people who got in early, and a lot of the decisions that they are making are made to benefit people who are already strong in the space. It is not fair to claim that Ethereum is completely decentralized. And keep in mind here, very few, if any, cryptocurrency projects are really completely decentralized in every way. That is a pipe dream. You will always have some centralized elements, and we can discuss how relevant they are, how dangerous they are, about different coins, about different systems. But to claim that anyone pointing out that there is significant centralization in some ways, which is what he's doing here, he is pointing out that the governance process, that the backside of Ethereum is very much centralized. That is not a lie. That is not a misrepresentation. And to react in this manner, in this way, hear this comment saying you're going from obnoxiously principled to outright delusional territory. He's not delusional. That is an objective fact he is pointing out here. And to have developers on Ethereum attacking him and saying these are cheap shots, stating the truth is not a cheap shot. What is cheap is pretending that this is not how it works. Just admit that there is a layer of centralization in how decisions are made. Yes, everyone gets to essentially vote on them. Everyone gets to decide if they want to accept them or not. But there are still a few people who are proposing them. There are a few people who can control the narrative, who have platforms, who are involved with the companies that have power. So stop lying and stop misrepresenting. It's embarrassing. But it's also kind of necessary in the crypto space because a lot of people in this space, They care so much about whether something is centralized or not, and they're missing the real important issues. You shouldn't be asking, is this centralized or is this not centralized? Instead, you should be asking, in which ways is this centralized? Does it make sense to be centralized in these ways? Is it dangerous to be centralized in these ways? Those are the questions you should be asking. Because honestly, I don't think the manners in which Ethereum's governance is centralized are dangerous. I think they are probably good for Ethereum. But these people will deny the fact that there is a certain amount of centralization here, just because in other ways Ethereum is decentralized. And it's just laughable, and it makes them dishonest, and it makes them impossible to take seriously. And it ultimately reflects badly on Ethereum and their community as a whole, that they feel the need to lie and to misrepresent instead of honestly dealing with criticisms. Because while Preston Byrne here is correct in stating that Ethereum is in some ways very centralized, I don't think he is correct in framing that as an argument against Ethereum. And that is what they should be responding to. They should be saying, yes, there is a certain amount of centralization in this process, by its nature, because it's necessary, but that's not an argument against Ethereum. That is how they should be responding. Instead, they are not engaging with his argument, and they are essentially trying to gaslight him here. And it's very disappointing, and it reflects badly upon Ethereum as a whole, because these are important people in the space. Some happier news. Venezuela is getting its first Bitcoin ATM. In an interview with local radio and news media network Union Radio, Jorge Farias? Probably wrong. Is that pronounced as an H? I don't know. I'm bad with names, sorry. CEO of Panama-based crypto buyer, said the machine had already arrived in the country's capital, Caracas. We are going to install the first cryptocurrency ATM in Venezuela over the course of the next 2 weeks, he told the network. We already have the equipment physically installed in Venezuela, it's in its final test stage, and we will then be making an announcement on social networks. The pioneering move comes amidst ever more difficult time for Venezuelans. As Bitcoin has previously reported, a toxic mixture of hyperinflation, travel and forex restrictions has made life for the average citizen often impossible. At the same time, Venezuela's government has pushed an agenda involving its state-issued cryptocurrency Petro, recently beginning to require certain payments, such as passports, only use the asset. Petro has had a dubious reputation since inception, reports claiming that despite its pact to Venezuela's $6 billion oil float, its backer in the form of state oil company PDVSA has $45 billion in debts, which undermine its status as a store of value. Further, local Bitcoins is not working. It is thus little surprising that peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading has exploded, especially over the last 6 months of 2018. According to the latest data from CoinDance, the week ending January 5th was the second busiest on record for the Venezuelan Bolivar on local Bitcoins, with a total of 5.15 billion changing hands. This was followed by a dramatic drop for the week ending January 12th, with social media commentators reporting the service was no longer available from inside Venezuela. See how tiny it suddenly got here? Something's going on here. CryptoBuyer is first and foremost a merchant acceptance platform for Bitcoin, Litecoin and Dash, and at present only lists a modest network of 5 ATMs in Panama City. Its operational machines cater to all 3 cryptocurrencies. So what we're seeing here is the Venezuelan government seems to be cracking down on on peer-to-peer Bitcoin sales, because they are obviously threatened by this, especially since they are trying to build up their own cryptocurrency and trying to force people to use the very questionable Petro. But Venezuela is very threatened by Bitcoin and by other cryptocurrencies, but it appears they cannot stop Bitcoin ATMs from being put into action. So I hope this will be the first of many, because this is a step towards freedom for Venezuelan citizens who are very much currently being suppressed by the government, who are being terribly limited by their government in very hard times, and cryptocurrencies can be something of a safe haven. So I really hope there will be more access for Venezuelans to buy cryptocurrencies soon. This is one of these things where it's really important and where it really affects real life change. Not just making the rich richer, which is a lot of what crypto is doing right now, but this is where people who are in real need can truly benefit from crypto in ways that reflect the democratic nature and the equalizing nature that crypto was initially developed for. So I really hope to see more of this. This is a step in the right direction, and I really respect this company for putting that Bitcoin ATM there. I hope it will see a lot of use and that this will expand further. And last but not least, we have a former French central bank chief joining a blockchain startup. Christian Noyer, probably mispronounced that, former governor of the Banque de France and a prominent French economist, is now a member of the board of directors of blockchain startup Settle, the company announced on Thursday. The startup, founded in 2015, offers payment and settlement services built on top of a blockchain network. It aims to help market participants directly transfer cash or other assets with immediate settlement. The company has received backing from a number of major financial institutions, including Citi, Deloitte, Crédit Agricole, Computershare, and S2IEM. In a statement, Noyer said he looked forward to helping shape this extremely interesting initiative. Settle chairman David Walker welcomed Noyer to the board, highlighting his experience with the central banking industry, as well as his familiarity. Oh my god, I could pronounce this in other videos. I'm a mess. With the financial, regulatory, and economic management space, he added. With the encouragement of shareholders and the revenue-generating projects we have recently announced, we are adding significantly to the strength of the company. At this stage in the development of the technology and its business applications, it is important to choose the right projects and to deliver a dependably resilient product to the market. The company previously received a license to operate a central securities depository system from the Autorité des Marchés Financiers, probably mispronounced that, France's securities regulator. The company has targeted an early 2019 rollout for the depository. Whew! A lot of words I couldn't pronounce in this, I'm very sorry for that. But what we see here is yet another crypto company hiring somebody who has a significant amount of experience in the regulatory world, who has worked for governments before. This is generally a very good step to make sure you're compliant, to make sure your products are fine, that you can release them properly, that you won't run into legal issues. But this is also usually a costly move. These people usually cost, at the very least, in the high 6 digits, often in the 7 digits a year, even if they're just working in an advisory position. So this means they're spending a lot of money in making sure they're compliant and they are up to regulation, in making sure they have someone who has connections and who has an understanding of that space. And this is generally a very good step. We've seen a lot of this in the last couple of weeks. A lot of companies hiring people who have formerly worked in government regulation bodies, often people who have been very high up in them. And this is a very good step for the entirety of the crypto world, because it means we are setting up for a future where we'll be compliant and where we can accept a lot of institutional money. And with that, I'm going to end this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. All these links to these articles are of course in the description, as well as links to my social media pages and ways to support the channel. If you enjoy my content, I would really appreciate if you could just leave a like, leave a comment, and maybe share my videos with your friends if they are also interested in the crypto space. Thanks for watching, and I will be back with another video either later today or tomorrow.